Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages,
Yes.
we're going to first start with some rounding today. Why?
What?
That is an excellent question,
Because we
Cheyenne.
love zeros in math.
That is an excellent question, Cheyenne. Well, because we have an assignment that is due tomorrow. Many people have already turned it in. And on the assignment, it has a little chart asking about rocks. And then it says which ones round, when rounded to the nearest hundredth, round to I know I already told you the answer. Round to 6 65 hundredths.
I guess.
I would guess probably around 40% missed this problem because they didn't round. They just looked at the answers and said, oh, that says 6.65. It must be that. That says 6.65. It must be that. Oh, these don't say 6.65, so it can't be these. Okay, you gotta round them.
It's
When we're rounding to the nearest hundredth. So let's look at these quickly. I'm gonna look at A. I have 6.641. Kendall, what digit is in the hundredth place?
6.
4 is in the hundredth place. 4 is the number. I'm either going to add 0 to it or I'm going to add 1 to it. I look behind it. What am I going to add to the 4? 0. Everything behind it stays a 0. Okay, you don't put the 1 down. Anything behind where you rounded becomes a 0. So,
That's our-
can 6.641 be our answer?
no.
No. It can't. It can't. It can't.
Wait, so wait, what?
Wait, what?
I'm confused.
It can't be our answer. It doesn't round to 6.65.
Oh.
It's got to round to 6.65. All right. So let's look at B.
B.
B is 6.649.
That's close to it.
B-Beck,
Yes.
what number is in the hundredth place?
It's the 4.
The 4. So I'm either going to add 1 or 0 to the 4. What am I going to add to the 4, B-Beck?
1.
Why?
Because it's less than 5.
No.
Oh. Let's.
Because the number behind it is 5 or greater. So since this is a 9, I'm going to add 1 to that 4. And so I'm going to have 6.65. I don't put that 9 there. It's gone. It's just gone. I can make it a 0 if I want to. But does B round to 6.65?
Yeah.
Yes, so B is a choice. Now on that question, there was an option where you could choose more than one answer choice. So let's look at C. C is 6 656 thousandths. 6 656 thousandths. Andrea, what number is in the hundredths place? Hundredths. The 5 is in the hundredths place. I look behind it. In the thousandths place, Andrea, I have a 6. So do I add 1 to the 5 or add nothing to the 5? I add 1 to the 5 because the number behind this is 5 or greater.
It's gonna become trash.
So this becomes 6.66.
Which is a big no-no.
So can that be the answer?
No!
No, because it needs to round to 6.65.
No.
Now we look at D. Looking at D. Bassett, what number is in the hundredths place? The 5. I look behind the 5. Bassett, am I going to add 1 to the 5 or add nothing to the 5? Add nothing to the 5. So this is going to round to 6 65 hundredths.
Yes!
So this particular question on the homework assignment had 2 correct answer choices.
B.
However, many people missed it. That's an old song that goes money, 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 money. So, when you get it back next week, if you missed it, you should be able to realize how to round.
Yeah.
Now,
Yay.
this
Yeah, bully.
is what we're going to work on first, is rounding.
No.
I'm going to do an example of rounding to the nearest whole number, rounding to the nearest tenth, and rounding to the nearest hundredth. Then I'm going to put some problems on the board. And if you want the tutoring credit points that I'll add to your grade, you'll do those problems at home and bring them to me tomorrow. Make sense?
Wait, what?
Because some of you need it on that assignment. Okay? I'll say it again in just a moment. So we're going to round to the nearest tenth. And I'm giving one example. Rounding to the nearest tenth, we're going to get 87.
I know you wear glasses.
And just to read, and 96 hundredths.
Wait.
We're going to round this to the nearest tenth. ¿Qué número es en el tenth place? Lo 10. ¿Qué número? Ayúdame. Bueno, 9. 9 is in the 10th place.
What he say?
So I look behind it. Do I add 1 or add 0 to the 9? Good, adding 1. Because the number behind it is 5 or greater. The number behind it is 5 or greater. So I add 1 to the 9. What happens to that 9 when I add 1 to it? It becomes a 10. So I got to carry my 1 up there. It's 10 tenths. It's like having 10 dimes. So I got to carry that 1 up there. So the answer actually becomes 88. You might say 88 and 0 tenths, or just 88. Okay, so that's rounding to the nearest tenth. Now if we round to the nearest whole number, who can tell me what a whole number is?
Oh no more. Oh no. She should know.
Taylor! The whole number.
It's a fraction, decimal, percent.
Good, it doesn't have any parts. So basically you're rounding to the ones place. Because we don't want it to have any parts. No decimal, no fraction, no percent, it's just a whole number. So let's take and go 2,496 and 412,000. Oh my goodness, that's a long number. That's how much y'all need to pay me for staying for tutoring.
Tell him to shush.
All right, so rounding to the nearest whole number. I don't want this to have any parts. No parts of a number. So Honeyleth, if I'm rounding to the nearest whole number, what number am I going to underline? What number's in the ones place? The 6. The 6 is in the ones place. So that's underlined. I look behind it. Now Honeyleth. She's on duty.
You said duty.
I did say duty. Okay. So Honeyleth. The number behind the ones place is the tenths place. And it is a 4. Do I add anything to the 6 or do I add nothing to the 6? I don't add anything because the number behind it is less than 5. It's less than 5. So this is just going to say 2,496. You round to the whole number. You shouldn't have anything behind the decimal point.
Well, that's the fourth. Hi, y'all.
Okay, so if it says round to the nearest whole number, it's not going to have any parts. Ladies, volume down. Ask what's going on. I just said volume down. And we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. Rounding to the nearest hundredth is like the nearest penny. It's like sometimes when you go buy gas and it says $2.44.9.
That's really cheap.
That's
They're
$2.
raising gas to $3.45.
That's it. I'm walking everywhere, and I'm carrying all 4 of my children when I walk everywhere.
Ouch!
I won't carry the older 2 because they're 19
He
and
can walk.
22,
22.
20 and 23.
My
I don't
mom's only
remember.
27.
All right, so round to the nearest hundredth. So let's take 56 and 895 thousandths. 56 and 895 thousandths. 56 and 895 thousandths. Cheyenne. Since we're going to round to the nearest hundredth, what number's in the hundredths place?
9.
The 9. So I'm going to either add 1 or add nothing to my 9. What am I going to add, Cheyenne?
You're gonna add 1.
I am going to add 1 to my hundredths place because the number behind it is 5 or greater. So that's going to give me 56 and what's 8 or 9 plus 1 is 10. So if 0, I got to carry that. 8 plus 1 is 9. So rounding to the nearest hundredth, 56 and 895 thousandths would round to 56 and 9 tenths, or 56 and 90 hundredths.
I'm slow.
All those kids are out in that field.
Crazy.
What?
All right, so now I'm going to give you 2 problems in each category. 2 rounding to the nearest tenth, 2 rounding to the nearest whole number, and 2 rounding to the nearest hundredth. I want you to do these problems at home, and then bring them to me tomorrow, because I want your parents to look at it and see what we've done. So let's...
Sorry.
All right, so we're going to round these 2 to the nearest hundredth. So let's take 7 and, or the nearest tenth. 8,
My life's just stuck.
96,
What are we doing?
and
Oh my god. Your chairs are
780. You're going to take those 2 numbers,
Yes.
round them to the nearest tenth. You're going to take these 2 numbers and round them to the nearest whole number at home. And we're going to take and you're going to round those 2 numbers to the nearest hundredth. So those of you watching at home or watching around the world, please, on a sheet of paper, write these 3 numbers, or these 6 numbers down, round them to the correct places, bring it back to me so I can keep track of because I got to do like data and keep track of who's tutoring and what I taught and whether they got it or not. So I need you to do this. Boom, shakalaka, peace out, God bless, love you. Do something kind today. Please subscribe.